What's up, everybody? Welcome to the new Awesemo Fantasy Football YouTube channel. My name is Matt Gajewski. I will be here this summer with a number of other Awesemo analysts breaking down all sorts of fantasy football content. Before we get started, hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, and stay tuned to the Awesemo channel for more fantasy football breakdowns, live best ball drafts, mock drafts, and all kinds of stuff ahead of the 2021 season. In this particular series, I'll be going through all the top names in fantasy football, their projections, draft slots, and recommendations for you ahead of the 2021 season. As you can see, we will be kicking off today with Tennessee's Derrick Henry at the running back position. Derrick Henry is entering his sixth season in the NFL, but he is still just 27 years old. Henry, a little bit more of a throwback running back. He is 5'11", 233 pounds, very much a bigger back, but as far as size adjusted speed goes, Henry is among the elite in the NFL. Last year, Henry puts forward the historic season we just saw, 2,027 rushing yards on 378 attempts. He secures 17 total scores in the process, making him one of the best running backs we've seen in recent memory as far as fantasy seasons go. Now, Henry still does lack a little bit of prowess as a pass catcher. Just 31 targets. He finishes with 114 receiving yards, but it was still a wildly efficient season from Henry, especially on the ground. He forced 75 missed tackles, and he generated 1,490 yards after contact. On a per attempt basis, Henry forced 3.9 yards after contact. Again, that is per attempt. Easily number one in the NFL among all running backs with at least 100 carries. But this is something we've seen from Henry for a while now. Prior in his career, we saw Henry enter the league in 2016. He was mostly a timeshare back during his first two seasons. Then in 2018, he records 1,059 rushing yards, followed up by 1,540 rushing yards. And now he's had three straight seasons with 1,000 rushing yards at the very least. Now, as a pass catcher, Henry's never caught more than 19 balls in a single season, and he's actually been over 15 just twice in those 5 seasons. However, his efficiency on the ground has allowed him to remain near the top of running back rankings through the last 2 seasons. Now, as far as opportunity goes, Henry also looks a little different than a lot of running backs we're used to seeing at the top of drafts. He only plays on 65% of the snaps, at least last year. That's far less than rushers like Christian McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. However, his usage is very different as well. 25.6 opportunities per game for Henry. That is carries combined with targets. Most of this coming on the ground. He handled 81.6% of the carries in the backfield, but just a 6.7% target share. Now, among running backs on the Tennessee Titans, he still handled 58.5% of the running back targets. It's just that Tennessee runs at such a high rate, you're not getting a lot of targets for the running back position as a whole. In total, Tennessee threw to the running backs just 53 times last year. But because of that, it allowed Henry to amass those 378 carries, still getting him to 25.6 opportunities per game. He handled 70% of the running back opportunities overall. But more importantly, Henry was a staple in the red zone for the Titans. He handled 67% of the work in the red zone. He totaled 59 overall red zone attempts. That was second overall in the NFL. It's a very much elite opportunity for Henry, even if it comes a little bit differently than running backs like Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey. But this offense is going through a number of changes. Last year, the Titans passed 49.7% of the time. That was 30th in the NFL. They did run 63.5 plays per game. That was 22nd, but they basically lived through efficiency. 29.6 points per game. That was 4th. Now this year, they have the 23rd easiest schedule. They're projected for 9 total wins, but they still are undergoing a lot of changes. First of all, they lose their offensive coordinator, Arthur Smith. They'll move forward with in-house replacement Todd Downing, so we're not expecting too many changes. But in the offensive line, they do lose Dennis Kelly. Fortunately, they added Kendall Lamb and Tyson Braylo in free agency. They also drafted Dylan Radins in the second round out of North Dakota State. Overall, as an offensive line, this is one of the more up and down units in the NFL. According to Pro Football Focus, they were 29th in pass blocking. However, they were 6th overall in run blocking. So this bodes well from Henry in this team's run-first approach overall. Now, they also lose Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith, but they bring in Julio Jones. Still, Julio Jones was top 5 in the NFL in yards per route run, suggesting this efficiency will translate over to Tennessee in an already efficient offense under Ryan Tannehill. The big concerns with Derrick Henry moving forward of course, are going to be, can he amass 2,000 rushing yards on the ground and really live up to that top 5 draft status? There are a little bit concerns with the pass catching. Darrynton Evans, their day 2 draft pick in 2020, he'll be coming back after missing 10 games last year due to injury. Tennessee was already playing the likes of Jeremy McNichols in the pass game over Henry, so Darrynton Evans could possess a bigger threat to Henry in the pass game. However, they've shown a willingness to spell Henry at times, and he's on the field for those meaningful downs, not only in the red zone, but when they're in running situations, which is where Henry has been able to generate a lot of his yards, especially after contact, in addition to what that 6th overall run blocking offensive line unit has given him in the past. Now, the bottom line with Henry, he's not going to have your workload like Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook. For that reason, he's not a top 2 pick in fantasy football unless you're playing in pure standard leagues. But he also receives a lot of valuable touches. And when we get outside the top 2 backs, all these runners have some concern. Alvin Kamara is going through a lot of offensive changes with Drew Brees coming out and the quarterback battle between Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill ensuing. Saquon Barkley's coming off this significant injury, suggesting he may start the year limited. Now, Derrick Henry won't have the pass game role of Dalvin Cook or Christian McCaffrey, but he does have that enormous role on the ground that allowed him to generate 2,000 rushing yards. Even if he falls short of that mark this year, his ability in the red zone and his ability to generate yards after contact should keep him in the conversation for top 5 backs overall. That will do it for us at Awesemo.com. I am Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Next up, we will be going through Saquon Barkley, followed by a number of other premier names in fantasy football. Remember to watch those videos, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe. We will catch you again next time.